Hello and good evening. Welcome to World Today, a brand new show on DD India, which will be your daily window to the world. I am Anil Thomas, and over the next 1 hour, we'll get you all the latest that's happening in India that makes a lot of sense to the world audience here. And this is going to be your show for all that matters. Our top story today is going to be from that India Bangaldesh ties and also a look at the Myanmar issue. But first up, the top headlines at the top of the hour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurates Maitri Setu between India and Bangladesh through a video conference. Says connectivity is not only strengthening the friendship between India and Bangladesh, but also proving to be a strong link of business. Malaysian government court grants international human rights group permission to challenge the recent deportation of Myanmar nationals. Myanmar security forces in the southern coast city of Mink detained a group of mainly women. Protesters fight back with fire extinguishers. United Kingdom reiterates that agricultural reform laws are a domestic matter of India and that security forces in a democracy have the right to enforce law and order. High Commission of India takes note of a distinctly one-sided discussion among a group of honourable UK parliamentarians. World battles COVID-19, over 11 crore 78 lakh people affected globally. Recoveries crossed 9 crore 35 lakh. Virus has so far claimed over 26 lakh 13,000 lives worldwide. And in sports, Cristiano Ronaldo set to return as Juventus look to overturn a 2-1 deficit in the second leg of their Champions League last 16 tie against Porto. Borussia Dortmund hold a slender advantage against Sevilla in the other outing. Well, those were the headlines. Let's begin with the big news. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated Maitri Setu between India and Bangladesh through a video conference. He said that the connectivity not only is strengthening the friendship between India and Bangladesh, but also proving to be a strong link of business too. Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina described the 1.9-kilometer long Feni Bridge that joins Sabroom in India with Ramgarh in Bangladesh as a lifeline for trade between the two countries.
सबरूम और रामगढ़ के बीच सेतु से हमारी मैत्री भी मजबूत हुई है और भारत बांग्लादेश की समृद्धि का कनेक्शन भी जुड़ गया। बीते कुछ वर्षों में भारत बांग्लादेश के बीच लैंड, रेल और वाटर कनेक्टिविटी के लिए जो समझौते जमीन पर उतरे हैं, इस सेतु से वो और मजबूत हुए।
Yet another bridge of friendship between India and Bangladesh. The 1.9-kilometer long Feni Bridge is not just a lifeline for trade between the two countries, but is also a symbol of the people-to-people connect the two countries share.
इस पूरे रीजन को पूर्वी, उत्तर पूर्वी भारत और बांग्लादेश के बीच एक प्रकार से ट्रेड कॉरिडोर के रूप में विकसित किया जा रहा है। इससे त्रिपुरा के साथ साथ दक्षिणी असम, मिजोरम, मणिपुर की, बांग्लादेश और साउथ ईस्ट एशिया के दूसरे देशों से कनेक्टिविटी सशक्त होगी। भारत में ही नहीं, बांग्लादेश में भी इस सेतु से कनेक्टिविटी बेहतर होगी और इकोनॉमिक अपॉर्चुनिटीज बढ़ेगी।
Apart from inaugurating Maitri Setu, Prime Minister Narendra Modi also laid the foundation stone for the integrated checkpost at Sabroom. The focus is clearly increasing trade access between Northeast India and Southeast Asia. In July 2020, the first container ship from Kolkata to Agartala through Chattogram port of Bangladesh was flagged off. With the inauguration of the Feni Bridge, trade between West Bengal and the Northeast via Bangladesh will be possible.
This bridge will be a trading lifeline for the northeast of India. As you all know, Bangladesh has already allowed the use of Chattogram and Mongla ports for the movement of goods to and from India. Now, with the opening of the Feni Bridge, movement of goods between West Bengal and the landlocked Indian northeastern states can take place through Bangladesh.
Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina also said that political boundaries should not become a hurdle for trade with other countries. She said that Maitri Setu will not only ensure ease of trade with India, but also with Nepal and Bhutan.
We are creating a new era in South Asia through providing connectivity to India. We are in a region which has remained conservative in opening up and where interregional trade is far below potential. I believe political boundaries should not become physical barriers to trade. We expect the framework that we are inaugurating today will also help Bangladesh to trade more easily, not only with India, but also with Nepal and Bhutan.
India-Bangladesh ties have grown from strength to strength, even during the coronavirus pandemic. The country was the first to get 20 lakh made-in-India vaccines on the 21st of January as a grant from India. Virtual summit-level talks took place between Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Hasina in December last year. A railway link between Haldibari in India and Chilahati in Bangladesh was also jointly inaugurated. The sixth meeting of the Joint Consultative Commission was held in September 2020. Two new India-Bangladesh inland water routes were included in the Protocol on Inland Water Transit and Trade between the two countries. 2021 is a historic year in India-Bangladesh bilateral ties. Both nations are commemorating the 50th anniversary of the Liberation War and the establishment of diplomatic relations. Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, what does this particular bridge mean, especially when it comes to India-Bangladesh relationship? How does it take things forward, especially in today's perspective when you look at, the Prime Minister, the things that he inaugurated? Let's take a look at some of the key things that the Prime Minister did. Prime Minister inaugurates that Maitri Setu bridge that's between India and Bangladesh. What does it mean? It's a 1.9 kilometer long bridge that joins Sabroom in India with Ramgarh in Bangladesh. How does that help? This particular Maitri Setu has been built over the Feni River, which flows between Tripura and Bangladesh. This bridge is going to herald a new chapter for trade and people-to-people movement. That's very important because there are political boundaries that exist. There are national boundaries that exist in this particular window. This particular bridge helps bridge that. Well, with the opening of this Feni bridge, Agartala becomes that first Indian city closest to an international seaport, and that's important. It also becomes a lifeline for trade between India and Bangladesh, as Bangladesh PM reiterated that political boundaries should not become a hurdle for trade and with other countries. This project also not only ensures ease of trade between India and Bangladesh, but also with Nepal and Bhutan. So it's significant on many fronts, not only when it comes to India and Bangladesh, but also with Nepal and Bhutan. The Prime Minister also laid that foundation stone for that integrated check post at Sabroom. So clearly, many important steps being taken, or many important steps, especially when it comes to building relations between India and Bangladesh, being taken forward through this initiative of Maitri Setu. Well, let's now get a perspective on how all this could change and how all this could help take the cement India-Bangladesh relations. We've got Mohan Kumar joining us this evening to give us more insights into this particular story. He's a former diplomat. Good evening, sir. Welcome to the show. Connectivity, deep down connectivity is, generally a fundamental pillar for trade and commerce to happen. And this particular bridge, does that in a long way, go in helping ease that particular window of trade and commerce to expand further between India and Bangladesh?
Well, thank you for having me. I think it's hugely important because For some time, it has been known that one of the least integrated regions economically in the world is South Asia,
Okay.
other than sub-Saharan Africa. So we are starting from a very, very low base. There has been a collective failure in South Asia to improve connectivity and trade. So this measure, I see it as hugely symbolic and hugely significant. In the last 5 years, I cannot think of anything which is more important. All your other cooperation in the region is fine. Ultimately, connectivity is the lifeline of bilateral relations. We have a wonderful relationship with Bangladesh. I would like to compliment the vision, not just of our Prime Minister, because that's very obvious. We have been visionary. I think ever since this government has taken over, they have emphasized connectivity. But I must be honest, due credit has to be given to the Bangladesh Prime Minister as well. It's not easy for a small country to do this. The fact that Bangladesh has chosen to be broad-minded, the Bangladesh has chosen to put long-term economic cooperation over short-term political gains is hugely important. And I think the grouping that is going to take off is BBIN, which is Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Nepal. There is a lot of other cooperation happening in the BBIN grouping on energy, infrastructure, and now with connectivity. If, as the Bangladesh Prime Minister says, this is not just going to help connectivity between India and Bangladesh, and just so that your viewers know, India and Bangladesh trade as much as India trades with France. I have been Joint Secretary Bangladesh and I was Indian Ambassador to France. So I know these two figures and they are comparable. Okay. So it is extremely important for the neighborhood, and at a time when SAARC is failing to take off, I see this grouping, BBIN, taking off in a big way. The Prime Minister of India emphasized connectivity, land, rail, and water. And the fact that we have been able to do all this with Bangladesh, I think sky is the limit. So okay. Really a very, very happy day for not just India and Bangladesh, but also for this grouping, Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Nepal.
Okay, Mr. Kumar, also looking at, it's always worked as a deterrent for Northeast, considering, the development, the lack of development there. This particular bridge, actually, somewhere erases all that, that particular window that existed, that, there was no development in the Northeast. This opens the gateway actually for many nations, especially not only Bangladesh, but also Nepal and Bhutan to connect.
Absolutely, you're right. Northeast has been crying out for connectivity and development. And this has been a long-standing demand of the Northeast. But 10, 15 years ago, the climate was not right. There was insurgency. There were other issues. I think this will be a big boon for the development of Northeast. The Northeast will get connected to Myanmar, will get connected to Bangladesh, will then have access to Nepal, Bhutan. That would be a big, big development. There is enough scope and market in Bangladesh, Bhutan, and Nepal for Northeast products, bamboo products, tourism, people-to-people connectivity, services which are being exchanged between Northeast. So not just for Tripura, but also for, as the Indian Prime Minister said, Assam, Meghalaya, and other states of the Northeast. So you are absolutely right. The Northeast connectivity with Bangladesh and with other parts will also lead to economic development of the Northeast.
Mr. Kumar, when you look at India-Bangladesh relationship, it's not a one-off thing. Even in this fight against COVID-19, when vaccines came, one of the biggest consignments that India gave, especially to neighboring countries, the biggest one was to Bangladesh.
Oh, absolutely. I think among the neighbors, if you ask me, a lot of people in my tribe, I'm a retired diplomat, but in my tribe, there is general consensus that Bangladesh stands out as perhaps and arguably the friendliest neighbor for India today. Okay. The relationship is multifaceted. We are celebrating the 50th anniversary of diplomatic relations establishment between the two countries. We are also celebrating the birth centenary of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. The External Affairs Minister just finished a very, very successful visit to Bangladesh. He went essentially to lay the ground for a Prime Minister of India visit to Bangladesh on 26th March. This is the first visit the Indian Prime Minister is making after COVID. So far, everything has been virtual. In the neighborhood, this is the first visit by the Indian Prime Minister after COVID. So I think it's important on many, many levels.
Okay. Mr. Kumar, do you also somewhere feel that, this particular move underline, the importance that India lays on Bangladesh as a key partner, not only in South Asia, but also when it comes to the Indo-Pacific region at large?
Yes, Bangladesh is a critical country from a geographical location point of view for India, because we need Bangladesh transit. We need Bangladesh to grant us transit, which they have done now. They've also given a port in Bangladesh now. So really, Bangladesh has done a lot of things to facilitate trade. It is also because Bangladesh is a very confident country now. I must be honest with you, on several economic indicators, Bangladesh is doing very well. A couple of weeks ago, the United Nations has announced that Bangladesh will no longer be a least developed country. They have graduated Bangladesh into developing country status. That's not a mean achievement for a country like Bangladesh. So as Bangladesh becomes economically prosperous and more confident, they will be happy to do things with India. And nothing could be better for India, because a prosperous, stable, and economically advanced Bangladesh is in India's interest. It's solidly in India's interest. But you are quite right. Bangladesh also gives us tremendously important transit and access so that we can connect up with the rest of the world. That is important as well.
Mr. Kumar, there are also certain sticky issues, especially when it comes to India-Bangladesh relationship. But how do you look at the way ahead? Are you optimistic, or do you see, we are going in the right direction, especially when it comes to building bridges, and not only building bridges, but also cementing ties in a much greater fashion?
No, when you have neighbors like India and Bangladesh, there are bound to be issues. For example, the sharing of the river waters is a big issue, Tista. Let's not underestimate that. It's a challenge because India is a federal polity. We need to take West Bengal on board. We also need to keep in mind the requirements of water for our population. But what I am trying to put forward is, if there is tremendous progress in transit, connectivity, trade, investment, then it makes it easier for the two countries to resolve the more thorny issues between the two countries. That's what I'm saying. Yes, we have issues with Bangladesh. We have issues of immigration. We have issues of water sharing. These will get easier to resolve when the two countries have better connectivity, better trade, better investment, better political relations. That is the way to go. I mean, the whole of South Asia, bad politics has sometimes trumped good economics. This is a clear example of how we have allowed good economics to trump politics. And I like that. I like that for that reason. We have allowed the solid economic foundations of the relationship to prosper. And for this, I think the two leaders deserve a lot of credit for this. As I said, the Bangladeshi Prime Minister also deserves credit, because it's not easy for a small country to do all this. So I would say, on the whole, it's a fantastic move, which will take the relationship between India and Bangladesh to the next level.
Mr. Kumar, when India-Bangladesh connectivity trade increases, it also helps Tripura in a big way. Not only Tripura, but other northeastern states. But Tripura gains the biggest, because it's that gateway. It's the gateway that it holds. So clearly, Tripura here could be one of the biggest beneficiaries among the northeastern states, or would you say it will be panned out to the other northeastern states too?
I would say yes, in the first instance, Tripura. But as connectivity even within the northeastern states improves, the prosperity will spread to the northeast. But again, it is to India's benefit. We do want northeast to prosper. We do want them to have better connectivity with countries like Bangladesh. Connectivity between northeast and mainland India is a problem. Let's be honest. There is only the chicken's neck, and we have issues with the Siliguri corridor and so on. So it is in our interest that northeast is allowed to flourish economically, so that they become confident in being able to deal with their neighbors. I mean, we have been talking about connectivity between Northeast Bangladesh, Northeast Myanmar, Northeast Thailand. We sometimes forget that Myanmar, Thailand are not very far from Northeast. So I think a new era of economic prosperity based on connectivity for Northeast with Bangladesh, with Thailand, with Myanmar should be actually the real implementation of our Act East policy. Our Act East policy is extremely important, and for this, I believe Bangladesh can play a very, very important role.
Also the fact, Mr. Kumar, that, Prime Minister's first likely visit, after this COVID protocol, very likely to happen somewhere in the last week of March, to Bangladesh. Clearly, once again, taking forward, every small step that's been taken, but every small step to once again reassure Bangladesh that how closely, how important it is to, especially when it comes to treating our neighbors with care.
Yes, I think the date of 26th March has already been announced, the likely date of the Indian Prime Minister to Bangladesh. It's a tremendously symbolic occasion as well. As I said, it is the birth centenary of the father of the Bangladeshi nation. India played an important role in the liberation of Bangladesh. Everybody knows that. So it is only fitting that the Indian Prime Minister goes to Bangladesh. But I do want to say that this is not just India, Bangladesh. I take you back to what I said earlier, BBIN.
True.
Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Nepal. This will become such an important grouping that the rest of the neighbors that India has will then start telling themselves it makes sense to be connected to India. This is the demonstrative effect of India's cooperation with Bangladesh. In that sense, I'm hugely excited about the possibilities that India has in developing its relations with Bangladesh.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Thank you and appreciate you joining us this evening with those inputs there, especially on the building India-Bangladesh relationship and the significance since SAARC somewhere seems to be lost, the importance of BBIN, that's Bangladesh, Bhutan, India and Nepal in the larger order. Well, moving on now to our next story there. Ambassador of India to Nepal, Vinay Kumar Khatra, said laid the foundation stone for the reconstruction and development of the Kumari Chen and Kumari Nivas in Patan, Lalitpur today. The event was attended by the Mayor of Lalitpur Metropolitan City, Chiru Babu Maharaj, former Minister of Culture and former Mayor of Lalitpur, Buddhiraj Bajacharya, and the Project Director of the National Reconstruction Authority, Shyam Kishore Singh. Members of the user committee of Kumari Chen and community members also participated. The conservation and development work of Kumari Chen and Kumari Nivas is second of the 28 cultural heritage conservation and restoration projects being undertaken with the Government of India, a reconstruction grant of 5,800 million. Conservation, restoration and reconstruction of cultural heritage projects in 8 districts of Nepal are currently taking place, and the 28 sites have been identified by the Government of Nepal, and the projects are being implemented by the Central Level Project Implementation Unit of the National Reconstruction Authority, that's NRA. Well, shifting focus to Myanmar, the Malaysian government has last month deported 1,086 people it claimed were illegal immigrants on 3 Myanmar Navy ships. It did so just hours after an interim court order banning the group's removal, pending a legal bid by Amnesty International and Asylum Access to halt the plan amid fears that they were asylum seekers and children among the group. The ruling by the Kuala Lumpur High Court on Tuesday paves the way for a full hearing on the deportations and extends a stay barring the removal of another 114 Myanmar nationals until the end of the judicial review.
There seems to be no end to political turmoil in Myanmar. Protests continue unabated. A Malaysian court on March 9th granted international human rights groups permission to challenge the recent deportation of Myanmar nationals. It's a major step in a country where law bars immigration decisions from being questioned in court.
I think with this decision, especially when the High Court has found that an application such as this is not frivolous, vexatious, hopeless, or pointless. This means that for future deportations, that NGOs like Amnesty International and Asylum Access are able to question the validity of any such deportations that are being made. So, at the very least, the government needs to provide an explanation and information as to how they, or the legality of how they carry out such deportations. So, it's important because it will affect future deportations. And as we know it, that there will be future, there are ships that are coming. So that's something that we can build on based on today's decision.
Suffice to say that in granting this leave, the court has acknowledged the critical role that NGOs play in protecting the rights of those most marginalized by ensuring accountability and transparency of the Malaysian government. So I think that what was really important for us was that the judge acknowledged that this was a matter of public interest and that this was not a frivolous case and that NGOs have a standing in situations such as this to bring an action against, to challenge the actions of the government.
Malaysian government last month deported some 1,086 people it claimed were illegal immigrants on 3 Myanmar Navy ships. It did so just hours after an interim court ordered banning the group's removal, pending a legal aid by Amnesty International and Asylum Access to halt the plan amid fears that there were asylum seekers and children among the group. The ruling by Kuala Lumpur High Court on Tuesday paves the way for a full hearing on the deportation and extends a stay barring the removal of another 114 Myanmar nationals until the end of judicial review. The progression of the legal case is unlikely to bring back those who have already been deported, but could allow similar challenges against future removals. Myanmar security forces in southern coastal city of Maitri detained a group of mainly women on Tuesday. A video release show about a dozen people climbing into the back of a vehicle as security forces looked on. Protesters even fought back with fire extinguishers after security forces lobbed tear gas canisters to disperse them in the northern town of Loikhao. Demonstrations have become a routine affair. Protesters are demanding release of Aung San Suu Kyi and respect for the election that her National League for Democracy party won last November. The army took power, citing fraud in the ballot, an accusation rejected by the Electoral Commission. It has promised another election, but without giving a date. The Southeast Asian nation is a near standstill. Daily protests are being staged across the country and security forces are cracking down harshly. With inputs from agencies, World Today Desk, DD India.
Well, let's now take a look at updates on COVID-19 from across the world. So far, purely in terms of numbers, 11 crore 78 lakh people having contracted COVID-19 world over, while the tally of recoveries, that's the big positive one looks at when you look at those numbers, 9 crore 35 lakh people recovering from COVID-19. COVID-19 has also claimed the lives of over 26 lakh 13,000 people globally. United States continues to be the worst affected from COVID-19, both in terms of infections as well as fatalities. In terms of infections, 2 crores 97 lakh people being affected by COVID-19. The country's fatality rate has now crossed 5 lakh 38,000. The U.S. House of Representatives Speaker said that the House will take up the Senate version of the sweeping $1.9 trillion COVID-19 relief package by Wednesday. The Senate passed its version of the bill after a marathon overnight vote on Saturday. The Senate version eliminated or pared back some provisions included in the House bill, which had increased the federal minimum wage of $15 an hour and expanded jobless assistance through August 29th. Now it has passed the Senate. It must be approved again by the House before it can make its way to Biden's desk and be signed into law. The High Commission of India has taken note of a distinctly one-sided discussion among a group of honourable UK parliamentarians in the Westminster Committee Room in response to an e-petition campaign of an India-related issue. High Commission of India has been over a period of time taking care to inform all concerned about the issues raised in the petition. We deeply regret that rather than a balanced debate, false assertions without substantiation or facts were made, casting aspersions on the largest functioning democracy in the world and its institutions. All issues raised are the remit of well-established independent democratic institutions in India for addressing the same. It is also a matter of concern that once again comments were made to mislead the British Indian community, raising doubts about treatment of minorities in India, alleged human rights violations in Kashmir. Foreign media, including the British media, are present in India and have witnessed the events under discussion firsthand. The question of lack of freedom of the media in India does not arise. High Commission of India would normally refrain from commenting on an internal discussion involving a small group of honourable parliamentarians in a limited quorum. However, when aspersions are cast on India by anyone, irrespective of their claims of friendship and love for India or domestic political compulsions, there is a need to set the record straight. United Kingdom has reiterated that agricultural reform laws are a domestic matter of India and that security forces in a democracy have the right to enforce law and order. UK Minister of State for Asia Nigel Adams, during a debate in Parliament, said the agricultural policy is a domestic matter for the Indian government. He further said that the UK government firmly believes that freedom of speech and the right for peaceful protest are vital to any democracy, but we also accept that if a protest crosses the line into illegality, security forces in a democracy have the right to enforce law and order. Adams was responding in a debate held on the issue of peaceful protest and press freedoms in India on Monday. Well, reactions are pouring in from across the globe over the controversial interview in which Duchess of Sussex Meghan Markle accused the British royal family of racism. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said it takes courage for anyone to come forward, as Prince Harry and his wife Meghan Markle did, to publicly speak about their own struggles with mental health. More in this report.
Prince Harry and his wife Meghan on Sunday gave their first major TV interview since stepping back from the British royal family a year ago. During the interview with Oprah Winfrey, the pair accused the royal family of racism. Meghan spoke of feeling suicidal, while Harry said his father, Prince Charles, had let him down. It dominated the conversation on social media, morning television shows and newspaper front pages on Monday in Britain and abroad. Much of the coverage centred on the dramatic moment when Meghan said her son Archie, who will be 2 in May, had been denied the title of prince because there were concerns within the royal family about how dark his skin might be when he's born.
The fact that the royal family failed to protect this couple from racist coverage, from death threats, the fact that the experiences Harry and Meghan had within the family led to Meghan having suicidal thoughts, being lonely, it means that somebody dropped the ball.
And to say they respect their grandmother, Harry's grandmother, the Queen, this whole interview was an exercise in disrespect of the monarchy. This is a woman who has dedicated 7 generations of her life to our country, to duty. Does she honestly need this whining and bleating of this spoilt pair at this stage in her life when her husband is ill?
The reactions have come from far and wide and from unexpected quarters. The White House has said that it takes courage for anyone to come forward, as Prince Harry and his wife Meghan Markle did, to publicly speak about their own struggles.
For anyone to come forward and speak about their own struggles with mental health and tell their own personal story, that takes courage. That's certainly something the President believes.
While the Buckingham Palace has not responded so far to the tell-all television interview, Meghan's father Thomas Markle said on Tuesday that he did not think the royal family was racist.
I have great respect for the royals, and I don't think the British royal family are racist at all. I don't think the British are racist. I think Los Angeles is racist, California is racist, but I don't think the Brits are.
Meghan accused Britain's royal family of raising concerns about how dark their son Archie's skin might be when he is born, pushing her to the brink of suicide. The tell-all television interview has sent shockwaves through the monarchy. The couple also announced they are expecting a baby girl. Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, U.S. State Department spokesman Ned Price said on Monday that the Houthis must demonstrate willingness to engage in a political process to achieve peace in Yemen after the group claimed responsibility for drone and missile attacks on Saudi Arabia. The White House also expressed alarm at the genuine security threats to Saudi Arabia from Yemen's Iran-aligned Houthis and elsewhere in the region after attacks on the heart of Saudi oil industry, and said it would look at improving support for Saudi defenses. The Houthis have been battling a Saudi-led coalition in Yemen for 6 years in a conflict largely regarded as a proxy war between Saudi Arabia and Iran.
We condemn the egregious Houthi drone and missile attack against Saudi Aramco's facilities in Dhahran and Ras Tur Noura and other civilian sites, including Hamis Mushat and in Jeddah. These attacks are unacceptable. They are dangerous. They put the lives of civilians at risk. Attacks like these are not the actions of a group that is serious about peace. We call on all parties to seriously commit to a ceasefire, to engage in negotiations under UN auspices in conjunction with our Special Envoy Tim Linderking, who in turn is working closely with the UN's envoy Martin Griffiths.
Well, on to some sports stories. Juventus and FC Porto will clash again in the second leg of the last 16 of the UEFA Champions League at the Allianz Stadium tonight. Juventus would look forward to overturning a first leg deficit to avoid a shocking exit at the hands of Porto in the Champions League. On the other hand, Porto is ready to repeat history, whereas fans are expecting a match to be a cracker of a one. The last time Porto won away from home in the Champions League knockout stages was the year they won the competition in 2002 and 2003 under Jose Mourinho. But can Cristiano Ronaldo turn the tide and make it count for the Italians at home in Turin? Well, on to the next game. In another match in the second leg of the last 16 round in the UEFA Champions League, Borussia Dortmund will take on Sevilla tonight. Both teams have struggled in recent weeks and have a point to prove going into this game. The first leg between the two teams saw Sevilla take an early lead. Borussia Dortmund staged a stunning comeback and came away with a 3-2 victory. Sevilla have lost 4 out of their last 5 games in all competitions and will play out of their skins this week. Borussia Dortmund are in better shape at the moment and should be able to win this outing tonight. Well, let's now take a look at what else is making headlines across the globe in News at a Glance.
The Supreme Court of Brazil has annulled the criminal convictions against former President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, restoring his right to seek the presidency again. The court ruled that the former president should never have been prosecuted in a local court in the southern city of Curitiba. The former president could still face charges if prosecutors in the capital, Brasilia, decide to take on some of the vacated cases. Da Silva faces 3 other corruption cases in Brasilia, which have not yet reached a verdict. Ahead of the trial of the police officer accused of killing George Floyd, Floyd's sister made an emotional plea for justice. Jury selection in the trial of former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin for the death of Floyd was delayed until at least Tuesday morning. The delay came as the judge awaits an appeals court decision on whether a new murder charge can be added. Chauvin is accused of second-degree unintentional murder and manslaughter in the death of Floyd. The maximum sentence he faces is 40 years. The death toll from a series of explosions at military barracks in Equatorial Guinea has soared to 98. Over 600 people were injured in the blasts on Sunday, which started with a fire at the military base in the coastal city of Bata. Equatorial Guinea president has attributed the accident to negligence related to the handling of dynamite and said the explosions damaged almost all homes and buildings in Bata. The explosions came as the former Spanish colony suffers a double economic shock caused by the global health crisis and a drop in the price of crude oil, which accounts for almost 3/4 of the state revenues. Thousands of women took to the streets of the main capitals of Latin America on Monday as part of International Women's Day, calling for equal rights and an end to violence against women. In Buenos Aires, thousands of women marched to Argentine Congress in the name of ending gender violence and job insecurity. In Colombia, activists mobilized to Bogota's Bolivar Plaza, while in Santiago, Chilean women gathered at the city's downtown. Mexican women also marched to the government palace and clashed with police officers. According to the WHO, about 30% of Latin American women have been victims of violence by their partners, and almost 11% have been victims of sexual violence from someone other than their partner. Senegal's opposition leader Ousmane Sonko called for more protests against President Macky Sall after being indicted and released on bail over a rape charge that has sparked violent unrest across the country. Sonko's release was cheered by participants in the protests that have buffeted one of West Africa's most stable democracies in the past week, leaving at least 8 dead in clashes with the police, according to rights group Amnesty International. After being freed, he called on President Macky Sall to guarantee to the people of Senegal that he would not stand for another term, saying a revolution was on the march to election year 2024. In Colombia, according to Environment Minister Carlos Eduardo Correa, the South American country is targeting a 30% reduction in deforestation during President Ivan Duque's term, which ends in August of 2022. The target, less ambitious than one floated by Duque himself, is meant to stem tree felling in Colombia, including in its Amazon. The Colombian Environment Minister also said he could not give any estimates on 2020 deforestation levels, although he said that increases were recorded in the first quarter of last year before subsequently falling. World Today Desk, DD India.
Well, time now to take a jog down memory lane and take a look at all the important events that took place on this very day in history, 9th of March.
It was on this day in 1934 when Soviet cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin was born in Russia's Zatsk. On April 12, 1961, Gagarin became the first human to orbit Earth in his spacecraft Vostok 1 that circled Earth at a speed of 27,400 kilometers per hour. The flight lasted for 108 minutes. At the highest point, Gagarin was about 327 kilometers above Earth. It was on March 9th in 1959 when the first ever Barbie doll went on display at the American Toy Fair in United States, New York City. 11 inches tall with a waterfall of blonde hair, Barbie was the first mass-produced toy doll in the United States with adult features. Barbie was the brainchild of Ruth Handler, who co-founded Mattel Incorporation with her husband in 1945. On March 9th in 1996, renowned comedian and one of the best entertainers of his time, George Burns, died weeks after celebrating his 100th birthday. Burns was popular for more than 70 years in vaudeville, radio, film and television. He was especially known as part of a popular comedy team with his wife, Gracie Allen. On March 9th in 2011, the space shuttle Discovery landed at the Kennedy Space Center in Cape Canaveral in Florida. The space shuttle Discovery capped a successful 13-day space flight with a smooth landing, ending a 27-year flying career for NASA's most traveled spaceship. It was launched in 1984 on August 30th for its first mission to deploy 3 communications satellites. On this day in 2014, a migrant boat carrying African migrant workers sunk off the coast of Yemen. 42 people drowned and at least 30 people were saved by a Yemeni naval patrol. World Today Desk, DD India.
Well, time now for your daily fix of offbeat, funny and unique stories in our segment Beyond Headlines.
As NASA's Perseverance rover is on a mission to explore the surface of the planet Mars, scientists hunting for signs of ancient life on the distant planet are using data gathered on a mission much closer home at a lake in southwest Turkey. Lake Salda in Turkey's southwestern Budur province holds much more than what meets the eye. According to NASA, due to its mineral composition and geology, this unique tectonic lake resembles the Jezero crater on Mars. The day after the launch of the Mars 2020 Perseverance rover on the 30th of July, NASA's Earth Observatory announced that researchers are using their understanding of Lake Salda to help guide the Mars 2020 mission, which has dropped the Perseverance rover into the crater to search for signs of ancient life. 46 mushers and their teams of huskies dashed off into the Alaska wilderness in a socially distanced start to the annual Itarod Trail Sled Dog Race, embarking on a course drastically altered by the coronavirus pandemic. The starting gate of the 2021 event was placed off limits to the usual crowds of cheering spectators, and few, if any, fans are expected along the abbreviated route for this year's 49th running of the marathon. The staggered launch of the race began with Itarod veteran Aaron Peck of Grand Prairie, Alberta, Canada, followed by rivals charging onto the trail one team at a time, every 2 minutes, amid sunny skies and a clamor of barking and yapping. In California, ladies marked the International Women's Day by surfing away pandemic blues on their boogie boards. Ranging between the ages of 40 and 95, some of the women have been riding the surf together for more than 20 years. The boogie boarding group was founded by Fran Dyer and some of her friends after she moved to the area after retirement and wanted to make friends and stay active. Celebrated on March 8th, International Women's Day has been recognized since the early 1900s to inspire women and acknowledge their contributions. A 23-year-old Jordanian henna artist is taking the traditional art form to a new level, using the brown paste-like material to paint canvases instead of hands. Balkis Al-Abadi developed her own signature style on the usage of henna, using it to create paintings of her Jordanian heritage on white canvas, including paintings of her city of Salt and its natural and urban scenes. The aim is to showcase the heritage of her country to visitors and tourists in an artistic way. The young artist said she wants to rely financially on her idea by promoting her work online, in addition to launching an app that exposes people to her different products. Everyone loves pizza, but in Tunisia, you can find a slice for everyone, including those who love gold and can afford it. L'Antica Pizzeria da Pietro has invented a $360 pizza covered with luxury foods and edible gold leaf, a prestigious creation that integrates the world of luxury thanks to its unique character. It was the restaurant's founder, Ahmed Hergil, who wanted to break the records for the most expensive pizza in Africa by adding it to the Pizzearia's menu. Behind Tayyip Demiril's olive groves in southwest Turkey lies a vast grey expanse, stripped bare by a coal mine, eating into the rolling hillside. On the horizon, heavy smoke billows from 3 giant chimneys of the power plant by the town of Yatagan. Demirel, a 64-year-old grandmother, has single-handedly taken on the operators extending the mine to feed what is one of Turkey's largest power plants. Last month, she won a court case against the expansion of the mine towards her village, and armed with information she herself uncovered from an earlier court ruling that said olive groves must be protected. She also won the appeal at the higher court. Fed up with people throwing litter on the ground in the COVID-19 pandemic, Paris street sweeper Ludovic Francesche has taken to TikTok to spread his message: "Put your trash in a garbage can." The 45-year-old has become an unlikely youth culture hit in France, with time-lapse videos of him sweeping up piles of trash, dancing and making heartfelt appeals to people to keep the planet clean. Francesche's TikTok account has 59,000 followers and 608,000 likes. Some of his video posts have been viewed hundreds of thousands of times. Tree surgeons have begun felling centuries-old oak trees, which will be used to rebuild the wooden-framed spire of the Notre Dame in Paris, after it was destroyed by a fire 2 years ago. The lead-coated spire, which for more than 150 years had defined the central Paris skyline, was consumed by the blaze in April 2019, collapsing through the stone-vaulted roof to the tears and gasps of distraught onlookers. The trees that will be taken from the Domaine des Biers outside Paris were identified at the beginning of the year and must all be chopped down before the end of March, before the sap rises and the wood becomes too humid. Drone footage captured the heartwarming moment when lambs were united with ewes for suckling at a farm in Turkey's southeast province of Diyarbakir. Footage showed dozens of lambs rushing to a pen where ewes were waiting to feed them. Lambs are usually separated from ewes at birth and allowed to reunite to their mothers twice a day for suckling for the first 3 months. Turkish agriculture experts say recent studies suggest the lambs and ewes recognize each other based on vocal signatures. World Today Desk, DD India.
Well, that's all we have time for in this edition of World Today. We're going to be back again tomorrow evening, same time, same channel. Till then, goodbye. Take care.